Hello and welcome. This is Social Studies, Voices Across America. I'm Bill Wood.
And I'm Peter Goldsmith.
Today, a man with five sisters. I'm very happy to talk about this subject, women in sports, in particular Title IX, signed into law June 23rd, 1972, banning all sex discrimination, gender discrimination in federally funded programs, in particular in education, universities, colleges, and high schools.
Yeah, Bill, Title IX, very, very important. As you say, it's 47 years old. And let me read exactly what Title IX is. But Bill, you're not going to get away unscathed, because I'm going to talk about my United States women's national soccer team, who I and every American should be proud of. Let me read this to you with Title IX. Title IX states that, quote, no person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any educational program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. That is the basis for Title IX. And a very, very important and life-changing act.
Completely life-changing for so many women and men across America. And in the case of the soccer team, globally, we go from women in sports has went up 10 to 15 fold, depending on the numbers that you read, that it made more money available for women to get involved, and not just in sports, but they get accepted into college and university. That means their lives have been changed forever. Their career paths, the job opportunities that are available to them, the training, all of that it changed the face of the American economy. Just that one law that is, quite frankly, is under attack now.
Yeah, absolutely, Bill. You're totally correct. And when we talk about that, as you started to say, scholarships that these women are getting to play sports are allowing more and more young women to enter college, to graduate college, and to have meaningful and long careers. Let me give you a statistic again, Bill. See, I got the notes this week, so you're in trouble, my friend. Before Title IX, 1 in every 27 girls or young women, they have girls, young women played sports. Today, and this is a year old, that number is 2 in 5, 40%, as opposed to 1 in 27. While we still have far to go before every girl/young woman has equal access to sports, especially young women of color, it's clear that we are making headway by using Title IX.
Think about that for a moment here. That one line, women of color, when I was going through the studies, as soon as I read some of these things, it flashed into my mind FloJo, a great athlete.
Florence Joyner.
Griffith Joyner, who changed the world as an Olympic athlete. Maybe nobody would have known about FloJo if she never got a chance to get an education in college and compete on the same level, to get the training necessary, to have the medical staff available to deal with any injuries, just to become a world-class athlete. It changed her life. It changed her family's life into the future. So there are generations of people who have been affected in the past 47 years, and not just athletes, but I want to stress the fact that women who never got a chance to go to college because they weren't considered college material, they weren't given scholarships, they weren't even considered, when they went into school, they never even saw female professors. There was just no opportunity for women in education until Title IX. So the women in science, technology, engineering, and math, STEM, we call it now, and so much more that is available to them now that wasn't available then in June 22nd, 1972. And I can't stress the fact that it's under attack now. And there's an effort, one, I think could be the major thing, is that the current Department of Education is trying to codify or define what is gender. And if they want to make it bipolar, that means that transgender is going to be attacked in some way. And it's just, if you could do this, then you could do that. That all of that means that Title IX is under attack.
Well, Bill, there's a few things that you brought up here that are very, very interesting. Let me go back to the first thing that you were talking about. When a person goes to college, be he, or be she, it doesn't only change that person. It changes a family, and it can change generations to come. How many times have we heard the thing, I'm the first person in my family to go to college? It also changes the consciousness in that family and preceding generations. Because as you and I both know, college is about, in my opinion, 50% academics and 50% learning to take care of yourself and understand the world in a much better, much more globally conscious way.
Just navigating the process is so
Correct.
important in college education, and the social identification, so that things that you didn't know socially, you learn, and it puts you on a different plane when you go home. And that's just not people of color. That's everybody that learn about how the people on the other side of the tracks live, and they don't know that until they experience it. Some men don't know to treat women in a different way because that's the way they were brought up. But once they live with women and talk to women, are taught by women, they learn that what I've been taught is wrong, and my identity in society is changed. It just elevates society in ways untold.
Yeah, absolutely, Bill. That's exactly correct. And another thing which is going on here, and I mentioned this to you before, is once you have a college degree, you are a different person. And if you get that degree through scholarship, that's fine. You've earned it. It's not like someone gave you something. You earned a scholarship. Now, another thing here that I find very interesting is a lot of the decriers of Title IX. I keep wanting to say Channel 9 because I worked for Channel 9 in New York for a couple of years. Anyway, we're talking about Title IX. So when one of us screws up, give us a break. No, but my point here is people say, well, then you're going to take money away from men's sports to give it to women and so forth and so on. That's, to quote my sainted mother, bunk. Because if you know the truth about college athletics, college football and college basketball pay the freight for all the other sports, be they men or women. Guess what? Men's archery is not bringing in a lot of money, nor is men's swimming, nor is men's track and field. So those larger sports are set up to fund the lesser sports. And if they fund some women's sports, so be it. Now, I'm not going to let you get away. As I said, I'm going to go back to my American women, but let's finish this first. Two men, we should say this, two men speaking about women's sports. So that's what we're saying. We're not trying to cover the women's angle. We're both men, but we do have, you have 5 sisters. I have a sister and a granddaughter and a wife. And so we are both concerned with fairness, especially, you have a granddaughter as well, especially with fairness to women. And I, for one, love this stuff. I am a huge fan of women's national team soccer. And I watch, I know I have not much of a life, but I'm home at night watching the Diamond League, which is a professional track league, and watching women athletes who are sensational right now.
Let's look at the soccer team. There wouldn't have been an American soccer team for women especially at the global level. They're one of the top two or three, and if they win the World Cup, they could possibly be ranked number one, along with Germany and France, as the top teams for women in the world. In the world, and that has a bearing on so many things. So many young girls that are growing up now can look at that and say, that's potential for me. I know my granddaughter now has a chance. She goes to camp. She's taken classes at Caltech in Southern California, summertime programs, and the only girl in the class, and is ahead of a lot of the boys. You should see her in some of the pictures when she's posing. She's got her hand on her hip like, hey, this is me. And they're not,
Right.
and that you can't put a price tag on that for a young girl and what it means for her. And to deny her access is unconscionable. And I stress this so much, that you are changing the lives of families with Title IX, and attacks on Title IX are.
How about let's go with dastardly. Okay, we can do that. Now, let me say another thing about this, and this is getting into the women's soccer. I have been watching almost every game, and every one of them is fantastic. However, what I'm going to go back to Title IX now. Many times, the commentator, who are women as well, thank goodness, will say, oh, this is Miss somebody playing for France or Italy or Germany or the Netherlands or, Nigeria. They went to college at, and they'll name a school where they went to college and played and got their training at a college. So not only did Title IX help the United States women, it helps women all over the world who went back to their native countries. And I hope one of them doesn't beat us, but they went back to their native countries and helped create a women's soccer league. Italy, for example, who played today and won. They began a women's soccer league because they had very many good soccer players, many of whom learned at colleges in the United States. So we're talking about a global outreach here and a global influence on women and on men and on the economy, and that's what we often forget. This is not only about women, it's about being fair to women, but it's about allowing women to participate more vigorously in the economy, allowing them to become as important as the men in society, which is what we need.
If that woman is a single parent head of household, then she can, instead of flipping a burger, she could own the restaurant. She can be the CEO, the COO, the CFO, the head of technology for that restaurant chain, so that when she goes home, instead of making a minimum wage, $20,000 or $25,000 a year, she could make $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year, and not be a drain on the economy. And her part, she's contributing to the economy and not draining from the economy. All of that is what Title IX allowed people to do. It gave them the opportunity to be contributors in society, to be contributors in the economy, and to change the way their family looks at the economy, and way the economy and society looks at their family, for not just the two generations since then, but 2, 4, 6, 10 generations going into the future.
Yeah, and Bill, it's a fact. I don't have the statistic in front of me, but it's at least 1 in several hundred of NCAA athletes become professional. So even though they may not turn professional, and they probably won't, men and women, the idea of building confidence and giving a sense of self-worth is really important, and it carries through for the rest of their lives. A confident person is much more likely to lead a successful life than a person who's not. And I think one of the things that Title IX does, it empowers not only the people who are involved in it, but it empowers those coming behind it. For example, with the women's national team, I bring it up again. When you look at a United States game, you will see thousands, not hundreds, thousands of United States fans, men and women, watching the game. You and I both know that in professional sports where men are playing, the men greatly outnumber the women in the audience, greatly. And in the women's soccer, it's different. They really have a tremendous following by men and women, and most importantly, by young girls. And these girls are prouder than heck. They've got USA t-shirts. They've got banners with sayings on it. They really believe this belongs to them and that they can achieve this. Your granddaughter, my granddaughter, for them, sky's the limit because they've seen this. They want to go to college. They want to do this stuff. And now they've got really good role models. And the women, to their credit, are extremely aware of this and do millions of things with young girls to help them foster this sense of self-confidence, aggressiveness, all the things that somebody needs to succeed in their life. And that's one of the things I love about this whole process, which, as you said, began in 1972.
But the thing about sports in high school and in college, whether or not you are one of those one in, let's say, 5,000 NCAA students who graduate into the professional levels, what sports teaches you, again, is how to get along with people. Just like college, you learn what other schools are like. You learn what other kids are like. I played against, I remember one guy in particular, his name was Mike. He went to a school that I would never see or go to. But by the time we played each other every year in football, in basketball, ran track, then we would see each other 5, 6 times a year. And I didn't see my friends sometimes 5 or 6 times a year. I knew Mike and Mike knew me. And when he changed schools, I saw him at a different basketball game. And I said, "What are you doing here?" Because he had changed, from one school to another. So, well, his family broke up. His mother moved to a different town, and they were going to that school now. So that gave him a chance. It gave both of us a chance to know people that we would never know otherwise. And again, for a woman, that kind of thing happens, but it didn't happen before June 23rd, 1972. After that, it became a whole new world that opened up to them, and they've capitalized on it.
You know, Bill, you brought up that women were not always, they would have milk and cookies afterwards. This is not quite Title IX, but let me just read a little something to you. Rosie Black, do you know this name? She played on a softball team called the Queen and Her Court. Mm-hmm. It was a 4-woman team, an outfielder, an infielder, a pitcher, and a catcher.
I do remember that, yeah.
Yeah, they had the king in his court, Eddie Feiner. I actually played against Eddie Feiner as a young guy. He came to my town. I was on an all-star team, and I actually fouled a pitch off. That's as close as I got, but I did foul one off. Okay. As the star of the 4-person softball team called the Queen in Her Court, the 5'9" Rosie Black has 16 or 17 different pitches that she throws. And what she's accomplished in 21 years as a professional is this: pitching almost exclusively against men. As her team travels across the country, Rosie has won 97% of her games. She's pitched 441 perfect games and has compiled more than 49,000 strikeouts in her career. Among those is Willie Mays. "Come on, Rosie, baby," Mays called out, and then zip, zip, zip. Down went Willie with 3 pitches. "She's one of the best pitchers I ever saw," he said. Johnny Bench, another Hall of Famer, said, I wasn't prepared for a ball coming that fast. So here's a woman striking out Willie Mays and Johnny Bench. It's a funny story, but what we're really trying to suggest here is the more equality in our society that we can present, the better we all are. The more conscious, the more aware of what's going on, men and women sharing, the better our society is. And for those attacking Title IX, Bill, they're the same jackasses that attack everything that frightens them. Okay? So we have a faction in our country now that is afraid to move forward to the future. And guess what? We are going to move forward to the future. We are going to see women succeed. We are going to see men and women sharing the mantle of leadership jointly. Whether it happens today, tomorrow, or next year, our granddaughters won't think it's unusual for them to run for president. And that's a darn good thing.
Yeah, I wonder, a lot of the women who went into the House this past session, this past year, won elections last year. I wonder how many of them participated in sports. Certainly, getting into college, a lot of them wouldn't be able to get into college without the support of Title IX. So you could say that Title IX had an impact on them becoming representatives of people in their community to represent them in Washington.
Yeah. Well, we saw it with men years ago. The great Hall of Fame pitcher, Jim Bunning, great pitcher, when it became a politician, and I think from Kentucky, if I'm not mistaken, and served many years in the government. So the same thing is going to happen now with women. We've had fun. I read you the Rosie article just for some fun, but we've had this stirring for a long time. If you recall, Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs played a man versus woman tennis match, which Billie Jean won, and it was thought of as a joke. But in reality, what it was a notice to all of us that, hey, something is happening and something is giving way. And it's still continuing. And I think that's what's important here. We talk about Title IX. It is certainly one of the most important acts. I was very fortunate to work with a guy for many years. We actually grew up as rivals in youth basketball, although truth be known, he was a heck of a lot better than I was. And he grew up into one of the really fine Americans. His name is Richard Labchick. Richard has started the Center for the Study of Sport in Society. Not sure where he is. We've lost touch. But he was one of the big proponents of Title IX and worked hard for it. And I'm sure still does to make sure it stays the way it is. But these are things that we can't lose sight of. We have something which is building and which is good, and we've got to fight to make sure these things continue to exist fairly and equitably. But they have to exist. Otherwise, we're going to go back into the dark ages, and nobody needs that.
And that's the mere fact of that possibility is disconcerting, because all of the things that would happen before June of 1972, all of those things, like you said, we just cannot go backwards half a century. That's not what, if you want to make America great again, you can't go back to the dark ages and live in the dark ages to make America great. The idea of giving someone advantage over another is not what we mean by making the country better.
See, America doesn't have to be made great again. That's another pipe dream. America is great, and we can get greater. And we don't make it great again by being bullies with a big stick and a loud mouth. We don't need that. What we need to think about is what we've got, how to use our resources. Men, women, children, senior citizens, education, all the things we have, and make them better. Instead of being afraid of the future, embrace the future. Understand everything changes but change itself. a Taoist precept, obviously. But therefore, let's stop all these sloganizing and all this malarkey, again, thanks to my sainted mother, and move on with this task. And I think that's what Channel 9, here I go, Title 9 again. But before we go, Bill, I know you're looking at me like we're getting short. I have a question for you, okay? Here's my question. I think you might get it. What woman has a brother who made the NBA Hall of Fame and she is considered his superior in basketball?
I could see him. He went to UCLA and she went to USC. He's an announcer on TNT. I'm not sure if she's an announcer anymore. I can't think of their names. Oh,
Cheryl and Reggie Miller. She
Miller.
is always considered the better of the two basketball players. And by the way,
he says that sometimes, yeah.
And by the way, in 2012, Reggie was put into the NBA Hall of Fame. However, in 1995, Cheryl beat him there. So it's just a little bit of an aside. I came across that in my research. But it's true, Bill. I think that Title IX is a wonderful thing. It's for moving forward. It's for getting equality for everyone. And that's what makes America great right now.
And equality in more than sports, equality in education. And education is one of the engines that drives the economy, the workforce in the economy. And if you cannot have a strong, vibrant economy with only half of the population participating. So
exactly.
You're going to have more participants in the economy, making our economy strong and vibrant on a global stage. Then you've got to educate people, especially in a world where education is becoming more important, valuable, and more difficult because there's more to learn now. I mean, we could laugh at that, but there's just more out there to learn, especially in the STEM fields of science, technology, engineering, and math.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Bill, I have nothing else to say. I'm done.
We've covered a lot. We've talked about sports, but I think that we've also made the point that there's much more at stake here in Title IX than athletics, that the access to opportunity that Title IX provided and provides and should provide in the future is what is going to make our economy and keep our economy vibrant. Remember that the next time we come together. Until then, take care of each other and respect each other.
Peace.
You can get this podcast. You can tell someone else about this podcast. It's available through YouTube, through iTunes, and through Google Play. Let's hear from you. Let us know what you think so that we can be in community with you. And there is a way to contact us. That's at peter@agnetuslife.com or bill@agnetuslife.com. That's our email addresses. Let's hear from you. Let's open up the forum.